Joshua, what up?
Good morning. How are we doing, Sean?
Good, how are you?
Good. Happy Tuesday.
It is a happy Tuesday,
It
although I
is.
would like it to be a little bit warmer.
I agree. One of the great things about having the show every Tuesday and Friday is that I can keep track of my days since all the days are running together. I know that Tuesday and Friday, at least every few days, I have to know what day it is. This has been great.
True.
So this is awesome. This is a True Talk Tuesday on Caffeinated Q&A. So this is where we bring some truth about what's going on in the marketing world and just be honest about what's working and what's not. And today we are going to be talking about different social media platforms and how you pick the right ones for your specific business or organization. But first, I'll go first because I have boring coffee again. I need coffee. I need coffee recommendations because I'm drinking the same thing all the time. So
I don't know that it's the coffee that's boring.
Guys, I'm gonna need a new co-host for next week because I don't know if Sean's gonna be around. Just FYI. so I'm drinking the same Starbucks, the Starbucks blonde roast again this week. I mean, it is fantastic, but my wife is reminding me that I've been doing the grocery shopping. So if I'm drinking boring coffee, Sean, you are correct. It is because I am boring.
So Cora and I will be hosting on Friday. But no, that's fun. Yeah, mine's, I shouldn't talk too much. It's just a cinnamon black tea, a little bit of spice to it. I think it's actually like some sort of chai. I don't know. I wasn't paying attention. Kind of forgot to pay attention to it. So yeah, we'll be drinking that today. I mean, you may be boring, but I'm flighty, so it's fine.
So listen, we're going to make a promise to everybody that next week we're going to have more interesting coffee and tea because this is absurd. Okay.
It's fine. Fine.
All right. So guys, thank you for being here on the Facebook Live. Again, this is True Talk Tuesday. We're going to talk about social media platforms. There's a lot of them out there. There's a lot of confusion about when to use which one. And so we're just going to dive into that a little bit.
Hey, Josh, I have a
don't
question.
Forget okay.
If somebody wants more details after the show.
I was just going here. I didn't forget. I'm just going here.
Oh, all right.
So we're going to dive into this, but if you want to get the email reminders about the upcoming shows and get the show notes from the previous week's shows, go to ghostcreative.com/live, put in your email address. We're not going to bombard you with emails. We send out one email a week, comes out Monday morning, again, recapping the previous week's shows and giving you kind of a preview of what's coming up next. And speaking of what's coming up next, Friday is the show where we have Unfiltered Fridays and we have guests on the show, and we're going to have Jen DeRose from Inner Balance Pilates this week. So I'm excited about that. So that'll be fun on Friday. But ghostcreative.com/live, sign up for the emails and we will make sure you stay in the loop. So let me talk a little bit about different social media platforms. There's really, so there's a bunch of them, right? You know, the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the Snapchats of the world, but really it's about picking the right platform, picking the platform that is right for you and for your audience. And when I say that, I mean, we'll dig into it a little bit more, but every platform has its uniqueness. So for example, Instagram, you have to post a photo or video on Instagram. So if you are horrible or you have no desire whatsoever to ever take pictures or video, Instagram is not going to work for you over the long term. Okay. But you also have to pick the platform where your audience is already at. Think about what social media is. Social media is just they're online gathering places. And if you want to get your message out to a group of people, you should pick the platform where those people are, right? And so when you're creating content for social media, it's really about what platform are you best on. If you're great at taking photos, pick a platform that allows you to post photos. And where is your audience currently gathering, and just join that gathering, right? You're entering into the conversation on those platforms. So let's talk a little bit about, we'll dig into each one of these. So first, let's dig into Facebook. Facebook the numbers just don't even make sense. So Facebook has about 2.5 billion monthly active users, 2.5 billion. 75% of people on the platform use it every single day. That is absolutely absurd numbers. So if you're looking for attention, there's a lot of attention on Facebook. And also, no matter what your audience is, you will be able to find them there. Okay. You'll be able to find them there. And so really on Facebook, you get about, it skews a little bit heavier female than male. But again, because the numbers are so huge, pretty much any audience you want, you can find on Facebook. The numbers that I looked up were that 84%, even so Facebook skews a little bit older. It has the largest older population, so 40 to 65. But also the numbers that I'm looking at that came out from last year say that 84% of 25 to 30-year-olds are also on Facebook. So just because there's an older population there doesn't mean that the younger population has completely left. It's just that, again, because it's such a huge platform, you're getting demographics across the board. The last thing I'll say about Facebook is that it has by far the most robust ad platform. And so if you're looking to advertise, it's really difficult to beat Facebook's depth of advertising capabilities. So next, let's switch over to Instagram. So if you didn't know, Instagram is actually owned by Facebook. And so one of the interesting things is all the advertising that you can do on Facebook, you can do similar things on Instagram because it's shared data. So if I use the same email address for Facebook and for Instagram, even though Instagram didn't collect all the data about me, Facebook did. And now Facebook knows that my Instagram account is owned by me as well. And now you get that depth of advertising on Instagram and Facebook because it's the same company at this point. As I already mentioned, Instagram is very, very visual media driven. So you have to post a photo or you have to post a video. So this is where people can really make an impact. If you have a visual brand, Instagram is where it's at. This is a platform where it's starting again to skew older. So the 50 to 65 demographic, there's a lot more people there. There's only about 1 billion users on Instagram. So compared to Facebook, it's much lower. But again, just a huge audience there. So Instagram does photos and video, right? If you're video, you guys all know YouTube. YouTube is actually the second biggest platform, depending on the numbers that you look at. Sometimes it's considered the biggest platform in terms of monthly active users. They're around 2 billion or a little more. And so YouTube kind of, because it's been around for a while, it gets a little discounted, and because YouTube has a little bit of everything, so it's not super focused, but it's a platform where there are just tons of eyeballs. So again, if you're good on video or you're interested in making video, YouTube is an absolute no-brainer. YouTube also benefits because they are owned by Google. So their ad platform is getting more robust because they can use all of the Google data to advertise on. So between Facebook and Instagram and YouTube, you have great advertising opportunities. All right, Twitter. Twitter is considered old at this point, but there are still 300 million users on there. Here's the interesting thing about Twitter. Twitter is not about posting content. Twitter is about having conversations. If you want to make an impact on Twitter, they call it the cocktail party of the internet, right? So like with Twitter, you have to have conversations. If you just go post content on Twitter, you're not going to see a lot of traction. What you need to do is go on Twitter and have conversations. You can search by hashtags. You can jump into any of these conversations that you want on Twitter, because it's not like Facebook where you have to be friends with someone to have a conversation with them and to see what's posted. You can see everything on Twitter. Now I'm going to talk about the two platforms that I'm most excited about. One is LinkedIn. If you're in the B2B space, like you're a business selling to other businesses, you have to be posting on LinkedIn on a regular basis. If you guys heard me answering Justin's question from last time, I think I told him to post on LinkedIn 25 times a day. That may be a little overkill, but if you can do it, do it. Because LinkedIn used to be a job search platform, right? Employers and employees could get matched on LinkedIn based on the job need and what the skill set of the individual was. But LinkedIn has now become a content creation platform. It works very much like Facebook does. And so you can go to LinkedIn and post content, post information, and people will see it. Other businesses will see it. Other people on LinkedIn will see it. And so it's becoming a real content creation platform. And if you guys listen to my supply and demand spiel, in the last episode, there's not a ton of people right now creating content on LinkedIn because the content creation portion of it is new. So go on LinkedIn, you will get organic reach from your personal accounts on LinkedIn. And the last one that I'll talk about is TikTok. And TikTok, I know everybody says it's for teenagers. It was actually an app called Musical.ly that then got purchased by this other company. And there are a lot of teenagers on TikTok, and there's a lot of nonsense on there. But here's the reality. Every platform started with a younger demographic, other than LinkedIn, started with a younger demographic where all the old people were off of it, and they didn't know how to use it. And then it, over time, skews older. TikTok right now is starting that skew right now. There's tons of big brands on it. ESPN's on it. Major League Baseball's on it. Nike's on it. You get all these big brands on it. And now it starts to become a more mainstream platform. And so what happens is, as TikTok becomes more mainstream, the people that were on it early have more of a land grab. They have more share in it and more trust on that platform. So getting on TikTok before you think you should is a really good idea. So that's kind of the quick and dirty on platforms. So there's a lot of other ones, right? There's Medium if you're a blogger. There's Pinterest. There's Snapchat. There's Tumblr. There's lots of other ones, and we can dive into those if you guys have specific questions about them. But really, here's what I want the takeaway to be for you guys. How do you choose what platforms you should be on? First and foremost, what are you good at? Again, if you're good at photography, you got to get on the platforms that allow you to show that off. So you have to be on Instagram. Sure, you can post photos on Facebook, but they don't show up in one beautiful gallery like they do on Instagram. So if you're good at photography, you have to be on Instagram. If you're good at video, you should be on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube, these platforms that allow you to showcase your video, specifically YouTube. If you're good at writing, there's a lot of platforms that'll let you do that well. Facebook actually does well with written text. Medium does well. So the point is, know what you're good at first, okay? Know what you're good at first and play to that strength. And the second thing is, where is your target audience? So those two things. What are you good at? Where is your target audience already? So if you're a B2B company, as I mentioned, your audience is on LinkedIn. So whether you like LinkedIn or not, you should be posting content on LinkedIn, okay? If you're a pure B2C brand, then posting on LinkedIn is not going to do a whole lot for you, okay? If you're catering, if your product is made specifically for a very young crowd, say like, the 13 to 17-year-old crowd, you have to be on TikTok. That's where their attention is right now. If your product or service is for 65-year-old females, being on TikTok is not going to do you a lot of good right now. You still should be there, but your emphasis should be on the Facebook, Instagram platforms, okay? So the idea here, guys, is play to your strengths. And so play to your strengths in messaging, so written word, photos, video, and then go take that strength that you have and put it on the platform where it makes the most sense for your audience. So I hope that makes sense. And I'm going to leave you with two other things. One of them is some words of wisdom from Max, who I see is joined us. And he used to say this about working out. He used to say the best workout plan is the one you're going to actually do, right? Because it doesn't matter how good it is on paper. If you're not going to do it, it doesn't help. The same is true for social media. The best platform for you is the one you're actually going to use. That's the bottom of the barrel. That's what you have to be doing. And then I'm going to add this second part. One of my favorite quotes is, the difference between amateurs and professionals is that professionals do it even when they don't feel like it. So if you don't feel like being on TikTok, the market doesn't care whether you feel like it or not. The market is heading that way. So if you're a professional, if this is your business and you're serious about it, sometimes you have to put your attention on platforms where you might not be comfortable. It's just a reality. You don't get to control the market. The market decides where the attention is going to go. You get to decide whether you're going to show up and enter yourself in that conversation or not. So that's my spiel, guys, on kind of platforms and a quick overview of the individual platforms and then how you really go about picking one. So it's really play to your strengths. What are you good at? Play to that strength. And then 2, know what your audience is, know who your audience is, and know where they are so that you can then put yourself into those conversations. So guys, if you have questions, one of the things that came up, I'll just throw this out here is we'll see if some people have questions, but if you have a question that's very specific to your business, this is the place to ask that. The general questions are great. We'll answer those. But if you have a very specific question related to your business, feel free to ask those as well, because us answering those will help give other business owners context as well. So don't be afraid to ask a very detailed, very specific question about your business as well, because those questions help everyone. So what do we got? I see we have a few people watching. Who has questions out there?
Yeah, Josh, why don't we start with a lot of the questions we get a lot of the times are kind of posting rates, I guess, for lack of a better word. Like, are there certain platforms where I have to post more than others? Can you give any kind of guidance on how many times a day I should be posting? Does that change platform to platform? That kind of thing.
Yeah. So I think the bar for us is always 3 times a day on the platform as a minimum. Now, do we always hit that? No. Do we expect you guys to always hit that? No. But if your goal on whatever platform you're on is 3 times a day, it puts you in a really good spot, regardless of the platform. Now, again, there's supply and demand here. So the more crowded a platform is, the more you're going to have to post to get attention. And so, like, if you're on Twitter, as I mentioned, Twitter is about conversation. If you're just trying to get traction on Twitter through posting, you have to be posting a ton to get any sort of traction. Whereas our 3 times a day rule for most platforms works just fine. The other place I would say there's an exception is on emerging platforms, post more often. It just allows you to get that land grab even faster. So if a year ago you were posting 10 times a day on TikTok, easily you would have 50,000 followers by now. And that's probably on the low end, just because there's not enough content. So the content producers that are making a lot of content on those new platforms, they're getting prioritized. So everybody's seeing their information. So that would be my 2 things. Like, platforms that are super saturated, like Twitter, post a lot. Emerging platforms, post a lot. Other than that, the 3 times a day rule really holds pretty true.
Yeah, so we have a really good question from Lois. And this is very, very pertinent, I think, right now. As you know, we look at healthcare considerations, things like that. My business is built on confidentiality. People come to me because they know what they share with me will be held in strictest confidence. Do you have any suggestions on how to market that on a platform?
Yeah, so this is an interesting one, because, Lois, knowing a little bit about your business, one, that confidentiality is absolutely critical. And so to me, that's content that you should be talking about. So regardless of the platform, whether you're on Facebook, whether you're on Instagram, whatever platform you're on, if it allows video, do that through video. You're a very sincere person. And so when you talk, and great job putting out your videos, by the way, I've seen some of your videos that you're posting on Facebook. You're doing a fantastic job. That sincerity that you have comes through. So if you can take these messages that are very important and like crucial to your business, and something that people care deeply about, doing it through video allows people to feel that emotion you feel around it. So when you type a post about how important confidentiality is, that's one thing. When you look into the camera and tell me how important confidentiality is to you, it takes on a completely different level of trust, right? You take on a completely different level of trust. And so I would say, when you're dealing with these things that are very important and emotional issues, I would do all of that through video, regardless of the platform that you're on.
Yeah, that's good.
And again, Lois, part of that is because you've been putting out video and you're good on video. So again, playing to your strengths, you're good at it, whether you feel like it or not. And so take that opportunity to take your strength and use it to really reach people. Video is the best type of content in terms of really reaching people, unless you are an amazing writer or amazing with photography. Video just immediately brings that human connection, which doesn't require such a high level of quality to really get your message across.
Yeah, so I'm actually kind of surprised we don't get this question a little bit more, but it's so good. People who work in direct sales, this comes, apologies if I say the name wrong, Deanna. I'm in direct sales a direct sales beauty company and have a private group for my customers in Facebook. I want to find new customers to add to my group, but cannot post publicly per my rules for my company. What ways can I build my private group with new people?
Good question. So yeah, I actually was just reading a little bit about this yesterday. This question is getting asked, I think, because a lot more people are diving into their business and realizing there are
Yeah.
regulations around and not allowed to post publicly. So if you're not allowed to post publicly, I don't know what all the rules are. So Deanna, feel free to jump in the chat and correct me as I talk through this if there's something else that I'm saying that you should do that you're not allowed to do. A great way to do it is to this is when you're talking private groups, word of mouth still works. So I love social media, I love digital. Word of mouth, as I'm sure you've seen in your business, still works. The other thing you can do is a couple other things. One, if you're not allowed to post publicly, are the people in the group that are so you're the customers in your group, are they allowed to post publicly about your products? And so encouraging them to share the information, which will lead people down the trail to you. That's one way that you could possibly do it. The other thing is email lists. So anything you can do to gather people's emails. And again, I don't know what the limitations are on what you're doing, but in general, in terms of organic reach, getting people that are your customers and your rabid fans to share information allows people to then find their way back to you. So if that's something you could do, I would definitely encourage people to share their experiences with your product. So not sharing posts necessarily, like meaning you're not sharing the same information that is in the private Facebook group, but in equipping them to create content around your product. So just asking again if that's allowed under the regulations that you're under.
Well, I know that Facebook a while ago came out and said that kind of when they initially built the platform, it was all directed at connecting. And so we want to connect people that normally can't connect with one another. A while ago, they kind of crossed the 2 billion user threshold. And at that point, they really kind of took a look at, okay, so what are we trying to do with this platform? And they changed their focus from connecting to building community. And so what that means is they're really putting a lot of energy behind Facebook groups. And so they've even changed their algorithms to communication through groups is prioritized much higher than communications from just friends or pages. And so know that you have the power of Facebook behind you, and doing things through the group should actually kind of help promote the group. I always love, the easier that you can make it to have your current following share on your behalf, the better. There's a reason that you see a lot of companies do things like, we're giving away this free set of products if you, like our page, if you follow us on Instagram, and if you share this and you comment with, 3 people's names in the comments. Because what you're doing is you're empowering the people who are already following you to invite their friends. And so things like that, where it's just, you make it easy for people to say, hey, come join this group that I'm a part of. You're more likely to get reached kind of that way. Empower your brand advocates and see how that works for you.
Yeah. Yes. And I see Deanna ask a follow-up. Do you have them share on their personal pages? Absolutely. Because personal pages are still where you're getting the reach. So if I post something on my personal page, if you're my friend, you're much more likely to see it than if I post the same thing on my business page, even if you're following the business page. So if you can empower people, and people like to share stuff, that's part of what people love about social media, is people like to share stuff. They like to say, you know what, I found this product and I love it, right? Just encouraging them to do that and giving them ways to do it can be very, very powerful. And this, I think, is a good opportunity to talk about the nuances of Facebook versus Instagram. Even though they're owned by the same company, Facebook allows you to easily share posts. So if one person shares it, another person can see that and just click the share button and share it again and share it again. So you can still kind of get this network effect through Facebook. Instagram doesn't allow you to do that. So even though I would say, like, well, if you're dealing with a beauty product, Instagram is a great platform. But then when you're taking this approach where you're trying to have people share your information to get it out there because you can't post publicly about it, Instagram is not a good platform for that, because it's not easy to share posts on Instagram. So I think you're on the right track with the private Facebook group. what Sean was referring to is if you post in that group, the people that are in that group will see a lot of what you post.
Yeah.
Facebook is making sure that when you're part of a private group and somebody posts in that group, it's going to show up in your newsfeed. And so continuing to encourage that audience to share information and give them ways to do it, I think is going to be I'd be interested to see if you're willing to try it, how that works out for you.
Yeah, that's good. So another question we get quite often is what's more important, quality or quantity?
Yes, this one comes up all the time, quality or quantity. And the answer that everybody says is, well, both. Well, of course, both, right? Like, of course, if you can make the highest quality content and you can do that 10 times a day, of course, do that. But the reason the question gets asked is because if I'm going to produce high quality content, it takes more time and therefore directly affects quantity. So when people say both, I'm like, well, that's great in theory, but it's not practical, which is why the question gets asked. So quantity is always more important. And here's why. You and I can both go watch the same exact movie. Okay. And you can watch that movie and you can say, this is the best movie I've ever seen. And I can watch that same movie and I can say, an hour in, I was done. I was bored. I didn't like the movie. I would never recommend it to anyone. The movie didn't change. But the point is, quality is very, very subjective. Okay. So what happens when we're creating content is we think we are the ultimate sayer in whether something is high quality or not. And you're not, right? Because if you're posting on social a lot, inevitably what happens is you create a post that you think is great that gets no attention. And you create a post that you think is mediocre at best and it gets a ton of attention. And the point is, you don't have the ultimate say in what quality is. The market does. Your audience does. And so more quantity allows you to feel out the market and see what people are actually interested in. And you trying to be the filter of what's great quality and what's not, you're just not that good at it. And I'm not that good at it. And no one is. Let the market decide the quality. You can control the quantity. Now, again, I will say there is some minimum level of quality that you need. Like if you're putting out a video where the audio is so muffled that you can't understand people, of course, there's some minimum bar on quality. But don't withhold a video because you don't think the production value is high enough. People don't care nearly as much about production quality as they do about the content. Quantity is always more important than quality.
Well, and that's why we promote that you're posting at least 3 times a day on a platform. It is very, very hard to determine what kind of content your audience is going to engage with. And so the more that you post, the more likely you are to come across, hey, I noticed that this kind of post or this quality of post is doing much better than anything else. I can start posting more like that. That's why we really push quantity. It is definitely a higher priority than quality. The other thing is people are very, very forgetful, especially on social media. So if you have a bad quality post, the likelihood that someone's going to remember that is very, very minimal. And nobody scrolls back through your feed when they're evaluating, oh, well, I see like previously they had 3 terrible posts. No one does that. Right. And so quality definitely takes a second seat to quantity. All right. So they're both good. So are platforms at all business specific? For example, if I own a bakery and I'm coming to, I know I need to be on social, I just don't know where to start. Is there a platform that I should consider, like Instagram or Snapchat or something else, or does that really matter?
Yeah. So I don't think it's business specific per se. Like if you're a video production company, obviously being on a platform that doesn't support video could be problematic. But at the macro level, I don't think if you're a bakery, I would say every bakery should be on this specific platform. I think it's really, again, contextual to what are you really good at and where is your audience. So if you're a bakery, for example, there's people that are purchasing from bakeries on every platform, right? Like there are people that are purchasing from bakeries that are on Twitter, they're on Snapchat, they're on YouTube, they're everywhere. So it's a matter of going to your skill set at that point. So if your target audience really is across all of those platforms, then it's really playing to your strengths. So I would have leanings based on businesses. So if you're a visual brand, again, leaning towards Instagram, at least considering it. But if you're horrible at photography, then you don't want to go that route. So again, it's more about much more about playing into your skill set than it is just about saying every business fits into this silo. And if you're a bakery, you automatically go on Instagram. If you're a gym, you automatically go on Facebook, whatever it might be. So yeah, I would say, go ahead.
I think maybe the only exception to that is if you're B2B, you should be on LinkedIn for sure. And so
true.
If you're like a B2B type business, then yeah, LinkedIn should be a significant consideration. But outside of that, no, there's no like specific platform.
Yeah, good point.
All right, so let's wrap up with we have another question from Deanna, which is awesome. Let's
that's a good one too.
What's the best way to promote sales? Because this is how I make money, but also build relationships without turning people off with being too pushy for sales with posts. That's a great question.
So if you haven't read the book Jab, 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 Right Hook by Gary Vaynerchuk, you should read it. And so the idea behind Jab, 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 Right Hook is jab being kind of the content relationship piece, and the right hook being the ask for the sale. And he said that if he could name the book what he wanted to, and his publisher didn't get a say, he would have named it Jab, 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 Right Hook, right? And the point is this: it's okay to ask for the sale. The problem is people ask for the sale over and over and over and over again. And that every time you ask for a sale, I don't know if you guys have heard this analogy of like emotional bank accounts, right? So like everybody has an emotional bank account. When somebody does something for you, it fills up that emotional bank account. And when they take something from you, it takes something out of that emotional bank account. The sales process is the same. Every time you're helping people, you're building a relationship, you're providing free content, you're providing free consultations, you're just pouring into a potential customer, you're filling up that bank account, that sales bank account. And as soon as you ask for the sale, whether you get it or not, you're taking something, you're drawing out of that account. And so what happens is if you draw out of that account too much, the account's empty, and now the person doesn't have trust in you because they're like, well, they don't really care about me. They just care about getting the sale. So I think, I don't know what the ratio is, but for us, I mean, we're like 100 to 1 looking at how much value you provide versus asking for a sale. We very, very, very rarely ask for a sale. And that's on purpose, because our whole thing is with our business, especially being in marketing, there's a major lack of trust in the marketing industry, and rightfully so. So we know that we have to really, really, really build trust with people before we would ever ask for a sale. And what we find more often than not is that we don't have to ask for the sale, because when you add enough value to people and they know what you do, and you're constantly top of mind, top of mind, top of mind, top of mind, and they're like, that person has added so much value. When they need the product that they know you sell, they will come to you and ask you to buy it, as opposed to you having to try to sell it. And so these, I don't know exactly what business you're in, Deanna. I know you said the area of business, but what we see a lot with these, anybody that is under a corporate umbrella selling. So I'll use, I don't want to pick on anybody, so I probably shouldn't say a business name. But some of these like kind of corporate umbrella, I'll just say a business name, like Beachbody. Okay. So this is not a knock on anybody that's doing Beachbody, but a lot of the Beachbody people on Facebook, they're selling all the time. There's not a single post you see that doesn't say, go do this, go buy this. And that to me is a major turnoff as a consumer, because I want that relationship, right? And so build up that account way more than you think you should. And so I see, Deanna, that you said I do a ton of value how-to videos, but don't ask for a sale. So just keep doing that. No, ask for the sale at some point, right? So if you're already, I should take a look at your page and see, but no, I guess it's a private group, so I can't. But if you're adding a ton of value, don't be afraid to ask for the sale. Right? You just don't want to be doing it all the time. So if you're putting out, I'll just give you a strict number to go by. And again, this would be from my perspective. You do it how you want. But if you're producing a month's worth of videos, at the end of the month, ask for the sale, right? Like, don't just keep doing month after month after month. If you're putting out daily videos, at the end of the month, ask for the sale.
Hey,
right?
Josh,
And
I'm
so,
going to cut you off a little bit. Your audio just cut out on my end. And so I'm going to
okay.
make an assumption and say that it cut out for everyone. So can you just like rewind about 30 seconds and repeat what you just said?
Yeah, sorry guys. I don't know what's going on with our internet today, but it's a little bit slow. So, um, the idea would be, Deanna, if you are posting content, say every day as a reference point, every day, and you do that every day for a month, at the end of the month, ask for the sale, right? If you're doing 30 days worth of content, don't be afraid to ask for the sale at the end of the month. And if you feel like you need to go 2 months, do it. But at some point, you have to ask for the sale.
Cool. All right. Yeah, that I think kind of wraps us up
Yeah. So,
this
well,
week.
there's one more question in there. Let's go ahead and grab that last question as well. Chrissy posted a question.
Oh, nice. Okay. Hold on. I'm getting caught up. Perfect. So the issue I see with that is that we are not supposed to put our company name in our posts. So how will they know that we sell it without the ask?
Okay. I would love for somebody to help inform me on this as well, because this is from an internal perspective. If somebody wants to reach out to me offline, I'm always very curious why companies don't want why they can trust somebody to sell their product, but they don't trust that person to use the company's name. So that is weird to me. And I know that it goes on in a lot of industries, but I would love to talk, if somebody's willing to talk to me about that offline, I would love that. There's a lot of people that I know what they sell and I follow them, and they don't have to say the company's name. Because you can, well, let me ask you this, Chrissy, if you could answer this. Are you allowed to, like, if you're on Instagram, are you allowed to put in your Instagram profile what company you're selling for? Because anything you can do, if there's no place, yeah, makes sense. Kind of makes sense. I still wholeheartedly disagree with that whole idea. So if you can't put your company name in your post, I think it's okay, we can, but it's not recommended. So this is where I would completely disagree with the philosophy of saying don't use your company name, because here's the thing: we don't buy on company name, we buy on trust. We buy on trust. So are there people that buy on price? 100%. And those people are buying a different product from Amazon, because if they're not buying on trust, they're not buying on brand, they're buying on price. They'll go to Amazon and find a similar product, and they'll buy the cheaper version of it. The bottom line is, when you become the authority in your space, people will buy from you. Okay. So if your product, there's plenty of products that cost more than the competitor, but people will buy them because there's trust there. So if I was working for one of these companies, I would be okay putting the company name on there and taking the chance on somebody Googling it and buying it somewhere else, because I'm going to add so much value to the people that are following me over the period of a year that there's no way that they're going somewhere else. And if they do, that's fine. That's the 10%, not the 90%. And so I think this is where we have to value what you're doing and understand buying philosophy, or people's buying philosophy, and know that buying psychology, and know that they're buying based on trust. They will buy from someone that they know they can trust. One of my favorite quotes in sales is, all things being equal, friends will do business with friends. All things not being equal, friends will still do business with friends. Right. And so when you become the authority figure, you become the friend. Even if things are not equal, they will still buy from you. Yeah. And so I see this is a very interesting conversation. Maybe we need to have an episode just about this stuff, Sean, if you can take a note, just about the whole idea of how do you sell under these corporate umbrellas, where the corporation is afraid of doing cross contamination and losing sales to other salespeople online. And so the way this was handled in the traditional world, right, in the traditional sales world, is you have a sales rep and he's not allowed to leave Pennsylvania to do sales. But digitally, it becomes much more difficult to manage that. So yeah, maybe we'll do a show specifically about that, because it seems like there's a lot of questions. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Um, Yeah, Chrissy asked the question. I kind of touched on it earlier, but do you have a ratio of posts that are business/product related versus personal relationship building? Again, it's a little bit industry specific, but if you're in the fitness industry or the marketing industry or any of these other industries that have done a great job of breaking everyone's trust over the past 50 years, 100-to-1 ratio, 50-to-1 ratio at least, where you're putting out 50 posts for every one time that you're selling. And that sounds crazy, but if you're posting 3 times a day, it's not that much, right? It doesn't take you that long to get to 50 if you're posting 3 times a day. But yeah, it's really, I mean, when you're in an industry where the trust is broken, people are very, very hesitant to trust anyone unless they've known you personally for a long time. To really have to weight that ratio way heavy towards relationship and way light on the sales. And the sales will come, right? Again, like I mentioned earlier, you'll get sales just by people knowing. You don't have to pitch them. They'll know what you sell and they'll need it, and they'll come and ask you to buy it. So we will definitely do a show. I think there's enough interest. We'll do a show specifically on this kind of, selling under a corporate umbrella as an independent sales rep, and dig more into this. But for, Chrissy and Deanna and, whoever else has questions, deeper questions about this, feel free to reach out to us. You can shoot us an email. You can shoot me an email directly at josh@ghostcreative.com if you want to do that. You can hit us up on Facebook. However, we'd be more than happy to dig into it, because it's definitely a unique problem where you're working under a business umbrella, but you can't use the business name to sell. That's a unique issue. So be more than happy to dig more into that. So yeah, Sean threw my email address up there. So josh@ghostcreative.com. You can shoot me an email there. The other thing is, we'll add something. I'll do a little bit of research, and we'll try to find some resources for you guys as well, which will come out we'll throw in the email for next Monday. So if you guys go to ghostcreative.com/live, sign up for the email list, we will dig up some resources on this topic as well and include them in the email for anyone that's interested. So again, Friday, I hope you guys, first of all, thank you all for being here today. I really appreciate it. We appreciate you guys so much. It makes the show fun to have questions from you guys. We know that there's lots of issues that people are dealing with now. And we love being able to kind of give our 2 cents on it. And these discussions back and forth really, really help everybody that's listening as well. In addition, again, Unfiltered Friday, we're going to have Jen DeRose from Inner Balance Pilates. She's awesome, local to Erie here. And we're going to have a fun conversation with her on Friday. So I hope you guys will join us then, Friday, 9 a.m. But Caffeinated Q&A is here every Tuesday and Friday, 9 a.m. on Facebook Live. Again, thank you guys so much, and we will hopefully see you on Friday. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Thanks.